Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining us for our April No Fools Power and Partnership virtual breakfast. Dr. Reese has already pulled a great April Fool's joke on us this morning, so I'll share more about that with you a little bit later today or later at the breakfast. If any of you have some ideas on a really good April Fool's joke that I might be able to pull on Dr. Reese, would you text me that? Because I've been trying to think about it for a while. And lo and behold, he pulled one on us. So Dr. Reese, paybacks can be rough. But thank you for being here with us. It is April Fool's, but we're going to have a great breakfast today. We have a great lineup for you. We want to thank our speaker, Dr. Aaron Thompson, who's joining us from Frankfort this morning. He's with the Kentucky Council on Post-Secondary Education. And then we have to thank our sponsor, West Kentucky Community and Technical College. So I probably shouldn't be too mad at Dr. Reese for the April Fool's joke. He is our sponsor today as well. We have just a few chamber announcements we want to share. We have two new members, Chicken Salad Chick Paducah. They'll be opening up this spring at Strawberry Hills at 2670 New Hope Road. So we're so excited for Katie and Tony Englert for that, and we can't wait for it to open. Also, Fashion on Broadway 2201. I want to get the address correct for you. 2201 Broadway, Suite E, with owners Kim and Don Brindley. And we had a great celebration with them. There's our photo from last Friday afternoon. So be sure and check out all of their ladies' fashions. We also have had two other ribbon cuttings recently. RTS Sports, located at 4645 Village Square Drive, Suite I, and they can give you a great fit on sports shoes. And American Freight at 3521 James Sanders Boulevard with furniture and appliances. So we welcome them and thank them and congratulate them on their celebrations. We're thrilled to be kicking off Youth Lead Class number 10. We had decided to wait about starting that program, and I want to say thank you to Class 9. They were the ones that encouraged us to go ahead with it and to just split the class. We wanted to do part of it this year. I mean, yes, in April or May during their junior year, which is when those students are, and then complete it next fall with classes in October, in August through October. Our plan is to have their graduation in person at our breakfast, also in person in November. So that month is always our Salute to Education, and it's just a perfect time for us to graduate that class. So we had an excellent response for this year's class. That includes high school juniors from McCracken County, Paducah Tillman, Community Christian Academy, and St. Mary High Schools. So congratulations to these 32 students shown on your screen as our next class of Youth Lead. I can tell you that the adults involved in reviewing the applications of these students always comment about how they feel very inadequate when they see how much these students have already accomplished. The Leadership Paducah Alumni Association Board, with assistance from the Paducah Chamber, takes great pride in coordinating this program. We want these students to want to come back and live in Paducah and McCracken County. So Youth Lead is our student leadership program, but today our adult leadership Paducah class is exploring business and economy. And we have a great lineup of speakers, including Steve Pallas and David Culbertson with CSI, Jennifer Woodard with DOE, and the three primary contractors at the DOE site, Four Rivers Nuclear Partnership, Swift and Staley, and Mid-America Conversion. We're going to see Beltline Electric with Jason Seener. Bruce Wilcox with GPED will update us on economic development activities. And then we have a small business panel with Chad Byer of I-5 Design, Terry Lundberg with Lundberg Medical Imaging, and Susanna French with Premier Disaster Restoration. I hope you saw the April edition of the Chamber Connection that's inserted each month inside the Business Journal of the Paducah Sun, mailed to your homes and also distributed throughout the community. On the back page was a listing of the Paducah Young Professionals, 178 strong. So we're very proud of that program and all of the young professionals that are involved with us. The next Paducah Young Professionals event is the Social Hour that includes some fun time with Chef Sarah Bradley and is sponsored by Roof Brothers Wine and Spirits. So we appreciate Roof Brothers for stepping up and being the sponsor for that. It's on 2 weeks from today, on April 15th at 5:30. There is a small fee associated with that, but you get this great snack pack of food from the Freight House. So you have to pre-register for that event by April 13th. On a different subject, registration is now open for our annual golf scramble on June 10th with Holland Stivers Employer Solutions as our presenting sponsor. And we're so thrilled to have them back as a sponsor and also to be having it in June of this year. Next month, in May, we're gearing up for our small business celebration. Last year, we didn't have it in May. We had waited till the fall, but this year we're going to go right ahead and have our small business celebration as an annual tradition. There's nothing small about the impact that small businesses have on our community and on our economy. So we're going to celebrate and show our appreciation for our small businesses. As you know, we always promote buy local. So chamber members with 15 or fewer employees, we're asking them to submit a short bio about them. We're going to distribute all of that on our social media website and Facebook page and everywhere that we can to help promote them. We'll be drawing from those bio submissions. One lucky winner will get the use of a billboard from Hibbs Insurance out in Lone Oak, and several of those business owners will be recognized during the breakfast. We're also going to have a panel of small business owners as our program that day. We're having seminars, so if you have a seminar topic that you're wanting us to hear, please let us know. Email us at info@paducahchamber.org. Our sponsors for the seminars are FNB Bank and Lundberg Medical Imaging. So for all of our chamber events, check out our Monday morning e-news or our website at paducahchamber.org. Now, I'd like to introduce, and I'm going to do it nicely, the 2021 chair of the Paducah Chamber Board. Dr. Anton Reese is president of West Kentucky Community and Technical College. And as I said, the college is also the sponsor of our April Fool's Breakfast. So thank you for joining us. Welcome, Dr. Reese.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our April 1st Chamber PIP event. I'm looking at Sandra Wilson, who I'll tee it up. Let me just tee up the April 1st way that I did it, shall we? So I was thinking all morning, how can I usher in April Fool's Day with Sandra Wilson? And those who know her best, Sandra likes to keep things very tight. So it hit me. So I called and I said, Sandra, I said, I got a problem. My car is broken down at the mall. And I'll let her fill in the rest of the blanks, what happened. So if you stay with us, you'll hear the rest of the story. And I'm sure she will put her spin on it. But welcome again, and good morning, and greetings from our board of directors. You know, today I have the honor of speaking as the chair of our board, but also representing our beloved West Kentucky Community and Technical College. And as always, greetings on behalf of the WKCDC family as well. But first, I want to share some information about our recent work in the area of advocacy. We talked a lot about advocacy because it is one of our major focus areas of work. We really take this role very seriously and as the lead business advocacy organization for this region. But I can attest firsthand about advocacy down to the 11th hour as your chamber. We've talked about it at previous chamber events, but our state General Assembly session just wrapped up Tuesday night. We had some significant wins for the business community, including the passage of House Bill 278 that involved the federal conformity for the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP. It allows small businesses and self-employed individuals who receive a forgivable PPP loan to deduct expenses paid with the loan. Another top priority was House Bill 413, the Unemployment Insurance Tax Relief Bill. This bill provides unemployment insurance tax relief for our business community that is already overburdened and struggling due to COVID-19 pandemic. And then Senate Bill 5, the bill for legal liability protection during COVID-19, passed on the final day of the session and now goes to the governor for his signature. It was a top priority of the Paducah Chamber and the Kentucky Chamber. This bill protects businesses, organizations, schools, and individuals from being sued on issues related to COVID-19 while they're doing their best to comply with regulation. The bill is very focused on a specific definition of what and who is protected. It does not, however, protect bad actors who have acted in a grossly negligent manner to ignore executive orders or guidelines. The Chamber considered these bills wins for the business community And we want to thank all of our local legislators for their support: Senator Danny Carroll, Representative Randy Bridges, Representative Steve Rudy, Representative Richard Heath, and Chris Freeland. There were other bills we worked diligently on that did not pass this session, but we will continue to address those topics in the future, especially the much needed transportation funding to maintain and build roads and bridges, as well as funding for riverports, railways, and aviation. This bill had support from our local legislators, but was not called for a vote this session. We now turn our focus on federal issues, including the tentative plan of taking our annual DC fly-in later in September. Now, as a sponsor for today's breakfast, I do have the privilege of, which I never ever don't want to seize the opportunity to share with you the highlights and successes of WKCTC. Next slide, please. So I've mentioned on several occasions that I've been asked, what's the secret? How does West Kentucky Community Technical College consistently achieve these incredible state, regional, and national rankings? Well, here's the secret. You get incredibly talented faculty, dedicated staff, world-class students, and inside and outside of the classroom on a daily basis. We do what we do best, which is to ensure that students come to and through WKCTC on the path to employment. You know, this past academic year, fall 2020, and now as we speak in spring 2021, our achievements continue to grow. One of our most recent additions is Academic Influence, which is a group of data specialists. They looked across the nation's colleges, and we were featured in Forbes magazine among the number 9 in the country out of colleges. You've heard our including ongoing successes with the Aspen Prize as a 5-time top 10. And on May 18th, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we will learn if we finally then ascend to being the top college in the nation, but being in it to win it, as they say. So we're very, very excited, and we'll be sending out a lot more information for you to tap in to that opportunity. Next slide. So certainly, there's been a lot of national state attention to the $50 million gift that we received through philanthropist Mackenzie Scott. We have termed it now the WKCTC Guarantee, our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is a combination of scholarship where we want to ensure that traditional age students and adults throughout our region have the opportunity to come to West Kentucky Community Technical College, basically with all expenses paid. And we focus very heavily on our diverse, historically underrepresented populations, but also our rural, lower socioeconomic areas as well. So the vision through the 7-sector framework is how we will implement and honor donor intent to ensure that for generations to come, that any financial barriers are removed, because the clear goal is the more that we get access to education, we continue to lift all ships, and it's a win-win for all of us. Next slide. The Community Scholarship Program is now over a decade and growing, which is very remarkable. In many ways, McCracken County was a pioneer really for most of the nation, the idea of the commitment to students being able to come to West Kentucky Community Technical College tuition free. It was an incredible partnership between the, next slide, it's an incredible partnership between some key partners who felt it was important to have really 3 key goals. We want to increase the high school graduate ration rates, post-secondary education, getting students certainly college ready, and at the end of the day, as mentioned, we want to improve the quality and skill set of our regional workforce to retain our best and brightest. I mentioned this was really a partnership and it is the visionaries really began with our Rotary, the Rotary Club of Paducah, who had then this vision to ensure then that public, private, and homeschool students would be able to see this opportunity. This expanded to including partners like the McCracken County, the City of Paducah, and the Paducah Junior College Foundation as key partners really launching this vision. And then we also want to thank, though, our continuing sponsors, and there are many, as you can see on the screen, which reflects the powerful commitment that we do have to education, getting our youth and adults, right, successful throughout our region. The return on investment ultimately is guided by performance. Many of you have seen these charts before, but I do want to give you the update with regards to how the CSP program in West Kentucky really compares and contrasts across the state. As you can see on your screen in green, the national completion rate is around 27% for two-year colleges. As you work your way across the screen and you see the gold bar, that 47% is where the CSP program and our efforts at WKCTC clearly show. I'm sure that my wife would want to point out, I went to Eastern Kentucky University, which you see there at the 45%, and Western Kentucky University is 1 percentage point above us at 48%. And then our good friends and partners, Murray State University, you see at 55%. And then on the next slide, when we include the transfer rates and completion rates, you see then where the CSP program is right behind the University of Kentucky. So this is a very powerful testament. And this, quite frankly, is the core and the center where groups like Aspen and Academic Influence look. I would want to really hover here for a moment to recognize our workforce arm of the college, because this is very pivotal and central as well, that we provide the support for our business community. As you know, Kevin O'Neill heads up our operations, so I definitely want to give him and his team a shout out here, if you will. We were very fortunate to receive a grant from the Delta Regional Authority for inmate reentry program, $270,000 grant, Rayla Triggs and her teams. And that is a classic example of the ways in which our college is committed to meeting all the needs of our community. The core workforce solutions is the trains, which basically is a state initiative through KCTCS, where as we offer workforce training for new companies, you can get a 75% discount on the services that we offer. And for existing companies, which we thank you, you get a 50% discount because we are more focused on delivering the service than necessarily the monetarily aspects of it. And certainly apprenticeships continue to be a growing demand and need. And we're very, very, very active. Peter Sierra heads up our apprenticeship programs, and you'll be hearing a lot more about that in the coming months. I would tell you that I've also been asked, bottom line, what is the return on investment? Ultimately, what makes WKCTC the go-to, right? Why should business partners invest in a college? Why should students choose to come to WKCTC in a crowded field of opportunities and workforce offerings? Well, the return on investment is for out of every 32 jobs in this entire region, one out of every 32 jobs, there's a WKCTC footprint involved in that effort. The college has a $228.7 million impact on our region. And bottom line, for every dollar that a student is invested, they get a 640 gain in terms of the earnings through the career paths that they provide. For taxpayers who support us, it's $5.20 for every dollar invested. And then for the community as a whole, we estimate about $11.30 per dollar, which is very, very huge and impactful. Next slide. So as I wrap up the economic impact portion of this, Kevin O'Neill would also want me to promote our second annual virtual regional business symposium, which comes up on April the 15th. Please be sure to come and support that initiative. It is free, and you'll be able to get that information by contacting Tina Clark, tina.clark@kctcs.edu, and certainly more information will be forthcoming on our website, social media as well. It's a great opportunity to just bring together our regional business leaders. Great keynote speaker who spoke at the chamber, I believe, last month, Mr. Tackett. So again, I'll be sure that you have that on your calendar. So now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our featured speaker this morning. Dr. Aaron Thompson is the president of the Kentucky Council on Post-Secondary Education, which oversees, if you will, all of the higher ed efforts in our Commonwealth. Dr. Thompson is a passionate advocate for higher education. As a first-generation college student from rural Clay County, Kentucky, he experienced the firsthand transformative power of a college credential. As president of CPE, he works to ensure all Kentuckians have an equal opportunity to improve their lives through post-secondary education. Before taking the helm of CPE, Dr. Thompson served as the interim president of Kentucky State University and as executive vice president, provost, and faculty member at Eastern Kentucky University. He has extensive leadership experience within the private and nonprofit sectors and is a highly sought after national speaker. Dr. Thompson has authored or co-authored numerous books and peer-reviewed publications on diversity, cultural competence, first-year experience programs, retention, and student success, among the other topics. In 2019, he was inducted into the Kentucky Civil Rights Hall of Fame. Dr. Thompson received his doctoral degree in sociology from the University of Kentucky with an emphasis on organizational leadership, a master's degree in industrial sociology from the University of Kentucky, and a bachelor's degree in political science from Eastern Kentucky University. Go Colonels, because it is my alma mater. And it is there that I met my great friend, Dr. Aaron Thompson. I was a student at Eastern Kentucky University on the track team, and he was a professor. And then we were also ongoing colleagues when I was at the University of Tennessee, using actually one of his books on student success for our first-year students. So with no further ado, please give a Paducah welcome to my good friend and mentor, Dr. Aaron Thompson.
Thank you, Dr. Reese. I mean, folk, aren't you just really excited to have this man in your community? He is, in fact, an addition to any community, but you have him in Paducah. So it's good to see you, Dr. Reese. Good to not see everybody over the where I can't see you, but I know you're there. And I'm happy to be a part of this conversation this morning for our great Western Kentucky colleagues. I do want to take just a second, though, before I get started, just to say, Dr. Reese, this is what I'm drinking out of today, Madisonville Community and Technical College mug. In other words, I don't have a West Kentucky mug. I mean, that's a hint. You know, it seems to me that I would have gotten one of these by now, but that's okay. You know, I'll still drink out of this one until I get one. But it's great being here. It's I've been there before and I've spoken to you before, and I'd rather be there in person to visit the great community of Paducah. I have a lot of good friends there. Some of you may be in the audience and you know who you are. So it's hopefully it's good to see me since I can't see you. You know, I've got a few minutes to speak about what's going on in Kentucky and in higher ed. And Dr. Reese gave you a good example. West Kentucky Community and Technical College, obviously, is one of the best in the country. I mean, when you think about having that in Kentucky, I mean, that gives me great pride as the head of higher education for the state of Kentucky to be able to brag, you know, a little bit. And I'm not shy about that, especially if we're doing the stuff we need to be doing, and they are. So it's good to see everybody here this morning, or be with you, I should say, here this morning. What a year, huh? What a year. You know, it's been one of those times that, I tell people that it passed, but it didn't pass fast for me, but it did kind of pass, and we're still in it. But we are, we learned a lot, and I want to talk a little bit about that today, along with some of the other things that I feel that we've been able to do before COVID and what we've done during COVID and what we're going to do after COVID. You all know what the CPE is. I mean, we are the coordinating body for higher ed. There's about 20 coordinating bodies in the nation, a single coordinating body, and there's about 6, 7 systems bodies that governs higher ed. We're kind of a different setup. We've got a little bit of both. We are a coordinating body, thus each of our campuses have their own governing boards, but then we have a coordinating board over those, and that's us. But we also have some system powers. I mean, we do things like approve programs. We set tuition ceilings. You know, we set the statewide strategic agenda that our campuses buy into. We do the funding, all of those pieces that normally you would see in a system organization that's governing, you have with us in a coordinating body. I see my main job really is to bring all of us together in higher education, focusing on the statewide need. So with that, you know, when I came into this space several years ago, we set what I call our North Star. And that is that we need to be at a 60% educational attainment rate. That's someone with a credential that matters of some sort, 1 year, associate degree, baccalaureate degree, whatever, that leads to a high paying job. And our goal is to be there by 2030. And if we get there by 2030, then in fact, we're in a situation where we can say we're competitive in the national and international marketplace. So we connect what we do in higher ed truly with what we are trying to do in this country to build a strong economy, but especially here in Kentucky. And so no matter how you look at it, I'm a statistician by trade, and I can tell you there's a huge correlation between those with a post-secondary credential and those that are actively engaged in the workforce for pay. And there's a correlation between those that don't have it and those that are on Medicaid, those that don't have it and those that are in prison. I could keep on going forever. As a matter of fact, during this COVID time, 90% of those that are unemployed don't have a higher ed credential. So when you talk about return on investment, I really appreciate Anton talking about that. And we just did this big study for Kentucky that said for the state, you're getting about a 62 times return on investment for every dollar. So higher ed truly is the impact item for your community and for the state. So during this time, we set up also what we consider to be the overall priorities that we should be focusing on to get where we need to go. And I won't go over a lot about, you know, the things that we did to get there. I would just say that our strategic agenda was fairly large, but I wanted to make sure that we had something that we could say that everybody could understand. So we did those 4 priorities. But we also wanted to bring all of the pieces under our purview in alignment with where we're trying to go, like the Gear Up grant that we administer for the state. You know, we have the Kentucky Virtual Library that supplies resources of all kinds to almost every community library, all K-12, all higher ed. So that's a big footprint that we have, right? If you go to your community library or you go to West Kentucky or you go to Murray State, you're going to see our impact there. I'm proud to also say that first of its kind in the nation, we just got a $2.1 million grant from James Graham Brown. That would allow us to set up a student success collaborative that kind of sits with us at CPE. It still answers to me, but it sits with us at CPE to do innovative strategies around pushing where we need to go to make sure more of our students have the outcomes they need to have, both quantitative, in other words, get through to that credential as fast as they can. But number 2, make sure it's a quality credential. And so we received this grant, and I want to thank James Graham Brown for doing so, because we now have a situation where we're setting up this collaborative, nothing like it in the country. There's a couple in the country, but it was only for community colleges. This one's for community colleges and four-year institutions. And it's almost like this public nonprofit collaboration that's never been done. We also manage the Kentucky wired system, believe it or not, are part of the Kentucky wired system. And now we're transitioning our post-secondary efforts to the bigger statewide effort. And we also license all the private institutions in the state. If you're offering a baccalaureate degree, we, in fact, license you. So, and that's either private nonprofit or private sector, for profit, in other words, in addition to the public institutions. So we wanted to bring all these folks together to talk about and think about what does it mean to do what we need to do for Kentucky as far as higher education goes. So this is where this 60 by 30 comes in. You know, the item that I tell people is the footprint that we need in this state is one that includes all of your communities getting to this 60% mark at least. Some will be less, some will be more, but it's going to take that kind of effort from a local community standpoint, business standpoint. I said on, as you all know, the state chamber board, it's going to take all of those to focus on a variety of those items. It's not going to be just one group or two groups making it happen. It's going to be a collective. So to do that, once again, we have to think about what does it mean to get more students engaged in higher ed. You know, I'm kind of sad to say that we only have about 50.5% of those that are graduating from high school going on to college. I mean, we can't get there that way. And if many of those aren't ready academically, socially, emotionally, culturally to go, that even makes it more problematic. That's why I love our community colleges, because they can be that first line in helping students get on the path of success. So we have to improve the college going rate. We have to get more adult learners back engaged. This is where our community colleges come into, like West Kentucky. We have lost about 40% over the last many years. We've got to work with business and industry and other folk to create this pipeline to get them in and then get them into the workplace, either at a higher skilled job or their first skilled job. But we also have to do those items in conjunction with what is needed for the state. So where are we at? Well, we need about 1.7 percentage point increase to get to 20 by 30, or stay on trajectory to get to 20 by 30. Well, good news. I'm happy to say we're at 3.4 percentage points. So in the last few years, we've been able to double that, almost double, well, actually over double that effort to get us there. But my argument is that we've got to figure out how to sustain that. And this is where we need to be truly building the pipeline into higher education. So those four priorities I talked about, I'll go through fairly fast, but these are the things that Kentucky needs. When I did my listening tour, our state told us that even. About 3,000 people I talked to all around the state, and I came to your neck of the woods, you know, and they were telling us this is what they need. So one is about the value proposition. Why is higher education important? And we need everybody to talk about this. People have, over the last many years, you've heard everywhere nationally and even in the state about higher education is not that important. It's not as valuable. We can get jobs without it. So that's just not the truth. You may get a job, but you won't sustain it. That's what the data are showing. So higher, and by the way, I tell people, and this is what we found out on the listening tour, you know, our young people were telling us, many were saying that, well, I don't think I'm higher education material. I really don't. I don't think I'm college material. And when I do tell them about all the options, including getting a skilled credential, you know, then they say, was that college? I said, absolutely, it's college. Anything beyond high school is college. Doesn't matter what it is. That has purview under at least my umbrella. And so we've got to be talking together about why higher education is important. We've got to do this for the business community. And so that value proposition, I tell people we have to put value back in that proposition, but we've got to show it and tell it. So we had started this campaign a couple of years ago, as you all know. We're hitting it hard, and thank goodness it's working tremendously. People are understanding why higher education is important. The other thing, we had to talk about affordability, whether it was perceived that you can't go to college because you can't afford it. I appreciate what you're doing with that grant there, Anton. But we've got to let people know about it, right? So the idea that there's a perception that people can't afford to go to college. So that's one level of affordability we have to talk about, is the idea that we show them how. That's why I'm doing this FAFSA campaign. That's why I'm doing all those things that are needed to let people know how to do it. Then there's the reality. Many cannot afford to go to college, right? So those things are important. So then we have to talk about success. We have to talk about how to get everybody through the pipeline, no matter where they're from, no matter their race, their gender, whatever. So this is our gap closing element. And that's important for us to focus on. So we have to focus on equity. We have to focus on inclusion. We have to focus on making sure that we get diverse populations through the pipeline. And we're doing that. We're doing it with a performance funding model or DEI model and a variety of other things. All of our campuses, many have set up even promise programs to make that happen. And then it's about jobs. And to me, this is a quality indicator. If our employers are saying they are hiring people that they want and we're preparing them both with skills as well as employability skills, in other words, they know how to critically think, they know how to problem solve, they know how to work people with different backgrounds, and so on, that matters. So we're developing innovative programs that we can actually have people shoot toward 10 years down the road, that they know it's there, the jobs are going to be there, versus what we're doing, the jobs that were created 2 years ago. So that's the way we're putting quality into this market. And I'll leave this PowerPoint with you, but you can see some of the things we're doing under all of those elements. So what has COVID taught us? Well, it's taught us that, we can do online hybrid learning and we can pivot fairly fast. But it also taught us that we need to get better at it. It also taught us that we have to engage better in this virtual venue. It taught us that the digital divide was not only there, it was really there. That it wasn't just about whether or not you had internet in the household, it was whether or not you had enough internet in the household, enough bandwidth to have parents and other family members doing jobs while people are doing school. It taught us that higher education was essential to the recovery, right? As I mentioned earlier, those that are on unemployment now, that it was essential. It was also essential, by the way, because our research colleges and universities were engaged in every vaccine that was created. So it taught us that higher education was more important than ever. But it also taught us that our vulnerable populations were really vulnerable. Now, we knew that, kind of, and I said in the speech I gave yesterday that it shouldn't have taken COVID to recognize that this issue was there, but it did. It taught us that we knew that we had many mental health related issues in higher ed and in the workplace, but COVID really exacerbated that. So we are really doing all we can do to even handle that with some of the money we have. And I'd love to talk to you about that sometimes because it's working. The way we're doing the telehealth, the way we've done our grants to build up our campuses to provide better mental health services and so on. So, but it also taught us we had to do a better job in our transition points. Our FAFSAs were way down as an example because when K-12 ended, there were no counselors and other folks to help. And in many of our schools now, they're about 23% down if they're in low income K-12 school. So we know that we've got to do a better job together to get people through. There were transition efforts, learning loss. There's going to be learning loss. So how do we make all of that up in order to feed the pipeline into your communities, your workplace communities? So we have to innovate, bottom line. We have to create many ways to keep us going, diverse revenue streams, like I appreciate, once again, this $15 million grant that's coming in. Because let me tell you, under affordability, we're not going to raise tuition that much. I'm happy to say, last year, since I've been president, we've had the lowest tuition in the history of setting tuition. We had a 0.7%. And I'm telling you out loud now that it's going to be hard to get us to have much more than that this year because it is important. So we've got to create ways of getting diverse revenue streams. I am happy to say the legislature and the governor's office really put forth an effort, and we have money coming into higher education from the appropriations venue for the first time in 13 years. So I'm proud of that also. That helps. We've got to reduce physical space. I mean, it just doesn't make sense if we're going to this venue that we have as much as we used to have. If Glenn Denton is there, he's happy to hear that, I'm sure. We've got to increase partnerships between different institutions, organizations, like we've done with James Graham Brown. We've got to create innovative ways of thinking about how to supply what's needed for our students. You know, we've got to augment the way we do classes. I mean, we've got technology now like virtual reality. We've got to flip our classrooms. We've got to create more accelerated ways to get our students through. We've got to get away from this idea that there's 2 semesters, right? Or even, you know, we've got to create a different thought process to make sure that we get where we're going. We've got to do more non-degree offerings with certificates. We've got to do more micro-credentials in those needed, what I call competency areas, whether it's cultural competence or STEM related or coding or whatever. We've got to do more of those. And we've got to figure out how to be mission specific, even in our community colleges. What West Kentucky does may be different than what's needed in Southeast Community College. So we've got to do those things that matter in that regard. We've got to move faculty hours online, office hours, automated business services. It needs not to stop at 5. It needs to be at 3 in the morning also. We've got to do more emergency loans to get people through college, you know, because that's where we see finances really taking place, not just going to college, but how they stop. You know, I'm also proud to say, and I don't think I have it in this presentation, just how well we've done that over the last few years. We've got to strengthen the intersection between P12 and post-secondary. And we started this education continuum for that reason, where the Lieutenant Governor, the Commissioner of Education, and myself, we co-chair this effort in looking at the gaps from early childhood all the way through post-secondary and filling those gaps. We've got to help our campuses stay in place during the current crisis and be more nimble, if you will. And they showed that they could be. And while they're being nimble, to innovate at the same time, not wait till the crisis is over to innovate. And I'm proud to say that we've done that. And we've got to continue the value equation. Now, you know, I want to stop here and see if there's any questions that you may have, Dr. Reese, but a couple things I want to say to really to tell you what we've done in Kentucky. Quickly, that goes to just how good our higher education institutions are performing. Even in times of budget cuts, in the last many years, we've increased our credential output by 17%. We increased our credential output for our underrepresented minorities by 34%. It's the state that's moving the most in closing gaps. We've increased our low income and students of color, to combine them, by 23%. We've done this without a lot of extra money. We also, our graduation rates are up at all of our institutions, including community colleges. Our retention rates at our 4-year institutions, for example, now close to 80%. These are things that you couldn't even think about in many cases, having a discussion on just a few years ago, but we're doing that now. Now, there's a long way to go. We've got much more to do. But the point being is that I'm stating to you as my last statement here, that higher education understands that we're in a direct correlation with you, and you have to be a part with us, not just the back part, not at career service day, but you have to be the back part, true enough, but you also have the front part. Help us to design the ways that we need to be thinking about the future with our programs, with our products, our processes, and make sure we fill those pipelines, and those potholes that we have. So I'm happy to answer any questions if I have time. And I got Bruce is doing something here for me, it looks like.
Dr. Thompson, we have no questions at this juncture in time, but certainly on behalf of the Paducah Chamber, I want to thank you for your passion, commitment, and bold vision for higher education across this Commonwealth. And as noted, we connected such a long time ago. As I mentioned, I was a student, you were a professor, but I was actually an older student and you were a younger professor, just to clear the air. But once again, thank you so much, my friend. And
Hey,
with that.
thank you. Don't forget my West Kentucky Cup.
It's coming. Have a great day and thank you so much. And at this juncture, I will bring back up our president, Sandra Wilson.
Thank you again, Dr. Thompson. We appreciate you being here with us. Thank you, Dr. Reese. I'm just going to say our April Fools started last night when I got a call from Joe Whiteloff and Alan Jackson, our providers who were here in the building to set up for today, and they said the internet was down. So that started, and that took a couple of hours. I want to thank Justin Reed and Ed Reichel who stepped in and helped them to get our internet working so that we could have our breakfast today. Those of you who have been on Zoom have been uninterrupted. Those who tried to join us on Facebook have had some issues today, so you probably don't know it, that they couldn't get on it, but we will be broadcasting. This broadcast will be posted on our Facebook page later today, and as well as on our website. So then this morning, Dr. Reese calls and says he's stuck out at the mall, and I'm like, okay, and I look up and I say, Molly, grab your keys and head toward the mall. So Molly, who has on some pretty high heels, is running down the center aisle of the Paducah Bank Community Room when she runs into Dr. Reese, who's walking into the building. So thank you for that, April Fools, but it's been just a lot of different things going on today. Those of you, again, who joined us on Zoom, thank you for joining us on Zoom because I think you've been uninterrupted. So I want to encourage everyone to register for us with Zoom. Thank you again to our sponsor, West Kentucky Community and Technical College. And we do have some door prizes to draw from them today from Branch Out, Fresh Foodies, and Qdoba. So Dr. Reese, if you would do that. Okay. Sorry. Dr. Anton Reese. I mean, you know you can't be that. Can you draw again?
I thought it was an April Fool's. That was your moment.
Dr. Anton Reese. I mean, seriously, did you slip in here last night with these guys and put all of that in there? Yeah, Dr. Anton Reese. Seriously, we're going to send prizes to Matt Yeager with the library, Jessica Wallace with Kemper CPA, who also is in, both of those are in our Leadership Paducah class, and James Gearhart. Thank you all for joining us today. We'll be back May 13th. In May, it's always the second Thursday because of the National Day of Prayer Breakfast. And I understand that will be happening in Paducah on the first Thursday in May. So we will be back on May 13th, sponsored by Swift and Staley, and it will be all about small businesses in our community. So thank you for joining us today. And if you know of someone that wants to see the breakfast, please share with them. It will be posted on our Facebook page later today and on our website as well. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.